This is We the Sales Engineers podcast, show 282.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to We the Sales Engineers podcast. I am your host, Ramsey Majaba, and I like to talk about sales engineering. Throughout my career, I've talked to individual contributors who want to become better SEs. I've talked to people who want to become SEs, who are aspiring to become SEs. I've also, because of what I do, I get a lot of requests from founders, startup founders, to jump on a call to have a discussion, whether it's startup founders in the sales engineering space or people who ask me advice or ask for consultation on how to do something within the sales cycle. And when today's focus is about founders mainly, but this could be helpful to anybody in the sales process who are actively attached to the sales process. And the reason I'm talking about this is specifically is, although not all founders are this way, but enough founders have left me with the impression that they're not familiar with the sales cycle. There are some startup founders who are very sales savvy, but many who are product people and think of a product and then they create it. And now they want to sell it to the world. And they come to me and we start discussing it. And I've seen several mistakes that could easily be solved. And I wanted to discuss them today. Again, I don't want everybody to be pissed off at me because I said founders. Not all founders are like this, but enough to make me create this video. So if you know a startup founder that's making some of these mistakes, please share this video with them. If you find value in this video and you think it's valuable for somebody else, make sure to share that with them as well. So I have 10 mistakes that I see founders use or founders do, and we're going to go through them. And I'm going to start with the first one, a very selfish, at least I think of it as a selfish reason for myself, I think the mistake is, it's a mistake due to selfish reasons. I guess that's the proper way of framing it, is founders hire salespeople without sales engineers. On a rare occasion, I've seen a startup founder hire a salesperson and an SE at the same time, but more often than not, they hire salespeople, they scale the sales team before they're hiring their first SE. Now, why is this a mistake? Well, we're going to have a list of things that this could cause issues with, but the main reason I think about it is when they hire salespeople, especially salespeople who've never done pre-sales, no one thinks about the pre-sales process. Everybody starts worrying about the sales process, but nobody thinks about when an SE comes in on the team, what are they supposed to be doing? Because the reason I'm saying that as well, because many SEs get hired later, or at least many first SEs get hired later in the scaling of the sales team, and they have to fight an uphill battle to make sure that they're treated equally. To make sure that they have a say in their organization, but more importantly, to know what their role is, because salespeople see SEs as one thing, but SEs is actually a totally different thing. For example, salespeople see sales engineers as sales support, someone there to answer the technical questions. Sales engineers see themselves as partners or equals to salespeople in solving a business problem. Right? Customers have a business problem. The salespeople solve it from a commercial perspective. The SEs solve it from a technical perspective. Between the two of them, they have one complete solution. So if salespeople see SEs as subordinates who are there just to answer technical questions, and SEs see themselves as partners trying to solve a business problem through technology, now they're not seeing eye to eye, and this causes some problems. By the way, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm using my hands a lot to gesture and explain, but I don't know if that's useful to you listening anyways, or to the people watching, either way. So that's one mistake. If you're a sales if you're a founder and you've gotten some seed money and you're hiring a bunch of people, budget for a sales engineer to be on the team. I mean, this instead of having two salespeople, have one SE, one salesperson, and that will be much more efficient than having two salespeople who do one part of the job very well and suck at the other one, versus having one who's great at one part and the other who's great at the other part and complement each other. And that way, when you need to build a sales process and SE process is in mind as well. If you need help with that, make sure to reach out to me. I'm happy to help with that. I've helped several companies build their SE process and make sure that they're going on target. So that's the first mistake that I see from startups as a whole. That's before we even start with the sales cycle. But here's the second mistake I see from founders, and that could be also like initial salespeople. So sometimes founders don't jump on the call, and it's a salesperson, but they jump straight into the demo. I've had this like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in a row now where we jump on a call and the first thing that the founder says is, let me show you our product. Okay, great. They bring up their product and they start taking me through the product. No context, no understanding of what they're doing. It's just now they're doing a demo and they don't even know if I care, or they don't even know what I care about. Right? Or they don't give me enough information to provide feedback for them after they're done the demo. Like, who is this for? Right? They just jump in and it's like, all right, this is the product, this is what we do. I had one example where someone jumped straight into the demo, and it's a tool for sales engineers. And the person kept mentioning SDRs the entire demo and never mentioned sales engineers. And in the end, I asked him, like, who's this product for? His response was sales engineers. Like, why are you talking to me about SDRs? I'm not an SDR. I can't tell you anything about that. So how about provide some context? If it's for SDRs, great. Talk to me from that, but tell me what. Make sure you understand who you're demoing for. So that's a common problem of not knowing your audience. But you don't need to jump straight into the demo. Most times you don't even need to demo. Where's the discovery, right? If you're a founder, if you're the first salesperson and you're jumping on a call with me, I've had one company so far they didn't show me a product. I don't think they had one, but they asked me a bunch of questions to confirm whether what they thought about their product is right or wrong. And it was very useful to me to understand what they're doing. Their questions help me understand their product. Right? That's what sales engineers do. They ask questions, vision building questions, to help customers understand how the product. I lost my English for a second. How the product can help solve a problem. Don't jump straight into the demo. Nobody does that in a regular sales cycle. If I have a salesperson or an SE and it's in my capacity to fire them, if they do that, I would fire them right away. Obviously, I provide some feedback first, and then if they don't listen, I'd fire them. But that's besides the point. So don't jump into the demo straight. First thing. Number 3 is they fall in love with the product and not the problem. This kind of goes in vein with the first one, or the second issue, where when they start talking to me about the product, as a startup founder or first salesperson within a startup team, you should have a story, right? One, you've already sold the product to multiple people. Especially if you raised money, if you sold the product to the venture capitalists, or you didn't sell the product, you sold the problem. So don't forget about the problem. Forget about the product. Talk about the problem. Then you have a story of why you actually came up with that problem, with that product. It's to solve a problem. Talk to me about the story. How did you come up with that? How did you see there was a problem? Maybe I don't see the same things that you do. Maybe I need my eyes to be opened to what you're trying to solve, because not all problems are known problems. There are low-hanging fruit that people are aware that this is annoying, but there are some things that, if solved, it would take a load off, but we never think about it. So Talk to me about the problem, not about the product first. Share the stories. Now, the fourth mistake I see is that founders jump on every call. So, okay, there are some companies that have a founder, two founders, and they're working together. It's bootstrapped or a small team. They don't have salespeople, and they jump on the calls together. Great, well, that's fine. But more often than not, there's the founders, there's the product manager or the design engineer, the engineer working on the product. There's a salesperson. There might be 4-5 people on the team. The entire company is made of 4 or 5 people. And all 4 or 5 people are jumping on every single call. Now, if you have time, do it. I don't think it's necessary. One, you hired a salesperson, so their job is to jump on the calls more often than not. But the reason they tell me is that, oh, we want to get feedback from the team. Then why do you have so many people hired? Why is the product marketing on the call, or the product manager or the engineer on the call, and the founder on the call to gather feedback from me, especially if the founder is technical? Why can't one of you be on the call? If you want both of you to be involved with customers, now you have 2 people jumping on the same call instead of jumping on different calls. Now you can set up more calls, or you can have a way to actually funnel information, because not every single piece of feedback is useful. Right? Not every single piece of meeting is useful. If it's a useless meeting, you just wasted 5 people's time or 4 people's time. You don't need to jump on every call. And what would happen once you do scale up and you can't jump on every call? Who's going to sell the product if you're doing all the selling? Because I've been on calls where there's a hired salesperson and the founder is a technical, they're a product person. The product person is trying to sell me the product. The salesperson is sitting there. What's the point? What's the point of hiring that person other than they set up an appointment? Hire an SDR, outsource one, and get meetings that way. That would be much cheaper than hiring a full-time salesperson. And again, if you hired a full-time salesperson, why didn't you hire a sales engineer? I'm just want to throw that out there again. So don't jump on every call if you don't have to. Split the efforts. Like, if you look at it from a sales team perspective as well, there's a salesperson and there's an SE, especially when they're tied one-to-one. The best sales teams are the teams that can do things separately. Right? When a salesperson can look at some of the technology and discuss some technical aspects of the product, maybe not 100%, but they can do a lot of the heavy lifting. And where an SE can do some commercial discussions as well. And now they both have their own meetings that they can work on at the same time. They just scale themselves up. So scale yourself up. If you're a startup, you need every second you can get to either build the product or sell more stuff. So scale yourself up. Number 5, founders demoing the product themselves. Now, why is that a mistake? Simple reasons: they suck at it. I haven't seen a founder yet who knows how to do a good demo. Again, when you look at, they basically do all the basic mistakes that junior SEs do. They jump on a call, they go straight into the demo, for one, so no discovery. And then they start talking about the product, about the features. Sometimes they mention benefits, but never value. So you're the salesperson, you're the startup founder. If you're a salesperson, salespeople don't know how to demo, in my opinion, and I am biased. And the founders, if they're engineers don't know how to demo either. They both tend to do the same mistakes for some reason, but they think about it from different perspectives. They end up talking about feature. They end up talking about things that people don't care about. They don't ask the right questions at the right time. And I'm not here to bash anybody. That's just my experience working with founders, is that sometimes you don't know how to demo. And sometimes the reason founders themselves sometimes have a hard time with demoing is because they have all these things that they want to talk about, and they will talk about them. But if you're working with a customer, the customer may not care about all these things. Right? Sometimes the customer, one feature is enough with one good story, and you close the deal. You don't need to go through all these different things and dilute what the messaging that the customer wants to hear. The customer is waiting for you to sell them that one feature, but you never get to it, or it's hidden in the middle of all the other things that you're talking about, or the demo just bored them to death. So don't do that. And the sixth mistake is kind of the inverse, where they bring an engineer to do the demo. Unless the engineer has sales engineering experience, they usually suck at it as well for the same mistakes. So I'm just gonna skip that. Number 7 is demo to the wrong audience. I already mentioned, I gave the example of someone doing a demo for me as an SE, but they kept talking about SDRs. Why? I mean, I'm not an SDR. I'm an SE. If you're going to be demoing to me, demo to me as a SE. Right? That's one of the big things that I see is they assume who the audience is and should be, or they talk about the audience that they know most, especially when you're like a startup in the sales world, in the pre-sales world. The salesperson may know they may know SDR very well. Like, they've been an SDR in their career. They know how to talk about that. So when they're demoing, they demo to an SDR audience. If you're a founder of a security company and you were a security engineer, you know how to talk about security to security engineers, but not necessarily to CISOs, right? So you have to adjust the way you talk. But the thing about sales engineering is it requires practice, and kind of like in the vein of the video that I did last week. It requires practice. It requires people to know what they're talking about. It requires people putting in the effort to know the different personas and who they can talk to. The engineer, the CEO, the founder, they're busy doing a million things as usual. I say that a lot, from raising funds to hiring to jumping on all the calls that are scheduled for them, whether they're useful or not, to actually set time aside to demo the product, right? And they probably, like, the marketing team is still trying to figure out what to do as well, so they don't know the different personas. So that's something that founders really need to look at, to make sure that when they demo to the right people, not just some random people. Number 8 is not sharing stories. I already mentioned earlier that sometimes founders don't even tell us why they started the company, right? That's a story that someone needs to share. Whether it's the founder, the salesperson on the call, whoever, someone needs to share that story. Another thing is, sometimes some of the new products that I am seeing are products that need to run within somebody else's environment when they're demoing. So basically, they're showing their customer how they use their product. They're showing the customer using the product that they sell. They never tell me why the customer bought their product to begin with, why the customer gave them permission to show their product. That's a very good social proof that, hey, customer A already bought our product. The demo I'm showing you is through them. They bought this product because it did this for them. That's social proof right there. At least one company wants to work with you. So why? Share that information. And that goes for any company. That's what sales engineers do. Share stories. Again, hire an SE when you hire, or hire us. Come talk to me. I can help you with this. Number 9 is not building relationships. So when you're in a startup world, it's a very fast-paced world, and they're looking for that first sale. It's important to have that first sale. It's important to bring in revenue. There are things that they have to do to meet in order to get the second round of funding or the third round of funding, whatever it is. But let's say the company does work. It will succeed. And the people you're talking to today are not ready to buy today, but they might be ready to buy in a few months or a year. My experience has been, and through my conversations with others, once the call is done, if this customer is not ready to buy right now, they just are dropped. There is no follow-up email with information. There are no follow-up emails with next steps. There is no, hey, I saw this article, I thought of you. There's nothing. And relationship building doesn't have to be this major event where I take people out to lunch. It could be connecting on LinkedIn, could be sending information on LinkedIn based on the discussions you've had with them. Right. So, and it's not that hard. Just, connect with people on a deeper level than just, hey, this is my product and this is what I want to show you. So there's that. Number 10 is not asking for referrals. I personally work with a lot of customers, a lot of companies, whether in different industries. After every meeting I've had with founders, they hang up and they don't ask me for any referrals, don't ask me for any introductions. And this is a like salesperson one-on-one, like one-on-one, where whenever you meet a customer or a potential customer, even if they don't buy, whether they buy or not, doesn't really matter. Ask for referrals. Ask them to provide you, like, would you know anyone who this solution could help? It's a simple thing to do. But like I've made those mistakes too. I make that one often. And I'm trying to work on it. But generally speaking, you have to end the call. Make sure that you ask for referrals at the end. If the answer is no, great, move on. But that's how you can exponentially increase your reach, by not necessarily trying to buy lists of people or go do research on Zoom info or LinkedIn. You're already getting a hot lead just by asking that question. And number 11, this is a bonus one that I thought about yesterday and I forgot, and now I just remembered in the middle of me talking, is during the demo or during the conversation, whatever it is, not setting up current state versus future state, especially when we're talking about a product or a problem that's not very well known, that's not very well defined, that may not be obvious to some people. When we want to sell the product, when we want to highlight the problem, we have to talk about the current state, how things are today, versus the future state, how things will be tomorrow. And it could be during the demo, it could be from questions, by asking the right questions, or it could be like just flat out saying, like, this is how we had the problem in the past. This was our problem, and this is how we solved it. Again, through stories. But basically, that has to be set up, because like I've been demoed something that are obscure, and we went through the entire demo and I had no idea like what was the, like, what did you just do? So I had to ask them, like, all right, if we weren't using the product, how would the thing look like? And then they would explain it to me. And then I would ask, why didn't you say that from the get-go? And even if I'm not the intended audience, like they're just asking me for feedback, if you're talking to someone higher up, like unless someone is an engineer and understands exactly what the current state is, they might not know. So even if they do know, set it up yourself and get confirmation from them if they do know, like, is this accurate? Does the current state that I'm describing similar to the current state that you have today? Would it be better when we do this? Or how would we be better when we do that? So, these are some mistakes. Some of them are useful as sales engineers today or as salespeople. Like the current state versus future state, I think most SEs know how to do it, or most SEs need to do it. Relationship building, if you're an enterprise, you're doing that. If you're a small to medium business, maybe not. Asking for referrals, that's a salesperson thing. They should be doing it. Sharing stories. A lot of SEs talk about sharing stories. Not many people actually do it. Demoing to the wrong audience. I see that all the time. Bringing engineers into demos. Sometimes I have to do that, mainly because we have to demo a lot of solutions that are in the alpha stage or the beta stage. So my SEs or myself don't have access to that. And we have to bring in an engineer. And I have to sit with the engineers for a long time beforehand to make sure that they're going to demo the way I want them to demo, or ask the right questions to the customers. Don't demo the product yourself. You don't need to be on every call. Don't be in love with your product. Be in love with the problem. Don't jump straight into the demo. And most importantly, hire sales engineers, please. So that's it. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, this audio, this podcast. And make sure to share, like, and subscribe, leave a rating, a review, all that stuff. With that, I'm signing off.